July 27th.
I'll approve the meeting minutes for July 27th.
All second.
Probably the motion, I should say.
Okay. I move to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I kind of like, they've been putting the links to the recording
Yeah.
in the minutes, just as,
Mhm.
information. So if you want to see where that is, you can click on that and go to the recording. Thought that was pretty cool. Sorry.
It's helpful.
Yeah. Okay, budget review, here we go. A lot. So, number one, you want to start with the mills? How we came up, how we come out on that?
So the state has a form, and they actually changed the form, how you kind of fill it out and stuff, but after doing that, our mills, one mill now is worth $14,1541. Last year, they were $10,000. So they jumped up, but when our mills jump up, that means the amount that we can levy goes down, the amount of mills that we can.
Right, yeah.
So our total, total mills that we could levy for general fund, comp insurance, PRS, and police retirement, those four, the total we could levy was 49.76. So that amount is less than, when we have to consider the transfer of resort tax. We have to decrease our mills by that transfer right off the top. So that's the 49.76. And then the group health is a separate form that we have to fill out. And that one's based on employees that get health insurance and stuff, and it's another calculation. And so for that one, we're allowed to levy 13.26 mils. So overall total, what everybody will see on their taxes is 63.02 mils. They will also see on their taxes, though, resort tax has decreased your bill by, I don't know, they have a calculation they do for that, but I just give them the number. Yep.
Yeah, I saw, Columbia Falls actually, just put out a news report on theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Their resort tax, like ours, was down a little bit, because ours was down, it was, and they were similar, not a significant amount, but their resort tax was down instead of going up like it had in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually just put the dollar amount out there, the total dollar amount that resort tax is paying for the property taxes.
Yeah,
Instead of just like on each individual tax, and they put their,
Citywide or whatever.
yeah, citywide, your resort tax has lowered property taxes by this amount.
right. So with Black Mountain, like I have to give Black Mountain the dollar amount, and then they help the county. They plug something into the
Right.
county system, and that's what shoots out that.
But ours is like 5% of the, it's only of the 3% though, right, not the 4%. So it's 5% of the 3%.
The resort tax only for, not
Right.
the 1% that goes to solid waste is not calculated
Right,
on
yeah.
that.
Or to the stormwater.
Stormwater,
Yeah.
sorry. Too many S's.
I know, yeah, it's okay,
Stormwater.
it's also 7:30 in the morning, sorry. Yes,
I'm sorry, on the mill allotments over on column K, actually, look in, column J. So did some of those amounts go down this year from last year because the mill,
Mm-hmm.
computation, the multiplier changed?
Yeah, I have to look at last year.
No, well, that's
When you
okay.
say went down, what do you mean?
Well,
Right.
you said because the value of the mill went up,
Right.
the number of mills
the number.
So the number of mills will go down, but the dollars.
not the amount. Okay.
So just as at a very, very high level, and Jeremy made an excellent point in one of his correspondence this week, that I think we always need to make sure that we always start from, rather than calculating up, we need to start from the number that people are gonna see on their taxes, so that 63.02. And then from there, we say that represents blah, 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 because people are always gonna use that as a reference. So as you know, how much money did we have? Here's how much more money we get. That part is fairly straightforward. You get 1/2 the average rate of inflation, except they changed that this year, so it's a little bit more. So the mills is actually the last thing they calculate. So you get X amount of dollars, given that a mill
And then determine the
is
mill.
why, how many mills does it take to get that?
I see.
And so as the value of a mill goes up, that's why there was a decrease in the number of mills.
But not the total amounts.
Right.
Right, but this just emphasizes the fact that if we continue to pay the fire department 28 mills, because last year we had like 69 or 72 in our general fund, and now we have 49.
92 total.
Did we have 92?
Well,
No.
92 compared to the 63. I think.
Right,
so-
no, I'm
But-
saying in our general fund, what actually
In
went
the
into the general fund. Sorry.
Right,
I'm
because
talking about,
the fire district is only affected by what mills is put into the general fund.
right, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
when-
But when
when
we were
calculate
paying
how much of our
28
budget-
mills, so that's for that other conversation, this is what we've been warning about.
Right,
As
so-
the number of mills go down that we can actually assess, that budget becomes more and more, our general fund.
Because I think it totaled out with, if it stuck with the 28 mills, it was 409,000 that would go to the fire department.
So Jeremy had done some really nice calculations where one year it was 20% of the budget, the next year it was 30% of the budget. This year we're.
Over 50,
No, I don't think we were over 50, but we were like
28?
48 or something. It was pretty close to half the budget.
Yeah.
You could see where nothing gets done, suddenly it's 100% of our budget. You know, if we only get 28 mils, then it's like, okay, what do we do for everything else?
Or if we're under 28 mils.
Yeah.
Then we're- It's gonna happen someday as the value keeps going up. Because it used to be well over 100, so. And I'm not talking.
Did, Steve, you're a good representative, so did that make sense though, as far, so what you'll see is the
Yeah.
dollar amount is a completely independent calculation.
You start with that.
Yeah, that's what's done, that's the, and I think,
What value did you actually start with then?
Lonnie, so do you have, I didn't see the spreadsheet in here.
That's okay, I don't,
But
take your time.
how, do you know what our rate of inflation was this year? How much we got over what last year was?
Not very much, what we
Okay.
got over last year.
'Cause-
Because we can only levy so much money.
Right, that's the question, is what percentage over last year was it? So it used to
I
be
didn't calculate.
one half the rate of, average rate of inflation over the last 3 years. Now, it's the actual rate of inflation, but it caps at 4. And we do need to find that, because in reality, there's gonna be some individual line changes in this. One of them that we need to make, Lonnie, is we need to find that number, because the 240,000 was the last year's reference number that we started. So we actually need to increase that by whatever that percentage is.
I thought the way that draft contract that you guys did, I thought the starting,
It is,
the
but-
first year
It was
that you guys
240.
do is 240.
And that
So we're
was
not gonna
the-
increase that this year.
And I think their expectation is it's up to 1.2 or 2% or whatever it is.
But then you guys are gonna need to do that draft.
Yeah, no,
agreement,
Yeah.
Because it says the very first year, the base
Right.
is
And
240. So
we're,
that would be this year.
we're aware of that. What I would like to know is what is the number that's different if we add to that 240, the whatever percentage of growth it was?
But we don't have to. Why would we do that?
I'm not sure. That was one of the things that they reached out was, we did that based on last year's numbers. It should go from that point on, it should always go up. So
But-
now we're in the new year.
But we didn't sign a contract yet, did we?
Yeah, so the contract isn't done.
So the base contract, I mean, I agree, I think the base contract's 240.
Okay.
Just-
I would like to know the number.
Yeah, and I can go
240,
get that.
just, we can find out what that percentage is. So
Or, yeah.
Oh, Lonnie, it doesn't need it right now, just a note for later. And I think that kind of also goes to, the reason I asked, because that goes to Steve's question of, what was our percentage increase over last year?
Okay, so, let's move on here with this. So, then in the general fund, our total resources will be 2.9 million. Our actual tax revenues is 339,000, from property taxes. And then, our total tax revenues is the 919,000. Is that correct? Am I reading that right?
Jody, I'm sorry, which, are you looking at this?
Page 1, the spreadsheet, yeah, where we're talking about the mills.
No, I have it, I just want to know which one. I'm looking
Column
at
I?
a piece of paper.
Column I,
Okay.
where it talks about tax revenues.
Yep.
Just so people understand that only $686,000 is actually going into the general fund for property taxes. The rest is for our, police retirement, group health, comp insurance, and PERS. So, and then our, everything else, we had cash reserve, cash available as of right now, is that right?
Yeah, so that number was pulled, so when we do pull claims, there are like a handful of claims that are still gonna hit June.
Okay.
So those the cash available, it's only gonna affect the general fund, and then on the other spreadsheet,
Okay.
these other funds. So as far as the tax, this one goes, it's only gonna be the general fund, the cash available will change.
Okay.
There's a few, it's not like, they're not huge amounts, but it's still gonna change that.
Okay,
So with changing that, it'll just bring down the cash reserve
okay,
section to make it all balanced.
okay. And then, just quickly highlight on, where non-tax revenue and comes from. I know it's a lot of it's fees and things like that.
Do we get PILT also?
You're
Or
right,
do we get PILT dollars, or does only the county get PILT?
we don't get that.
Payment in lieu of taxes, I think it's just a county thing.
No. So in the revenue sheet that I gave you,
Column G.
no, I know,
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
explaining where I get that number from.
Perfect, thank you. Non-tax levied funds, is that?
Nope,
your-
so your revenue funds, that's all
Okay.
of those sheets.
Okay, thank you.
That it goes over, what.
Those are expenditures, or
Yeah, so for
revenue?
general funds, that non-tax includes like business registrations, we get entitlement shares, which entitlement share is another, it comes from the state. Every town, I don't know how they base how much each town gets, but, each town gets a certain amount of entitlement share.
Okay,
An entitlement share, I split between the general fund, comp insurance, and the two retirements. But then like we get gambling permits, what else is on here?
Does the pot tax come in there?
yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah, weed control charges, miscellaneous animal control, oh, so like our investment earnings, because we've been able to get a decent interest rate through like STIP, we have quite a bit of money sitting in the STIP fund. So that helps a lot, because if you look back in 22, 23, the amount of revenues that we've got from, interest was like 39,000. This last year, we got 176,000
Nice,
in interest. So
Great.
being able to move stuff into STIP has
Okay.
helped a lot.
okay.
So
Perfect.
those are kind of the numbers
Yeah.
that make up that non-tax.
So those are all on pages 1 and 2 of the revenue.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
I know there's a lot of going back and forth. on
Yeah,
numbers,
no,
but-
that's fine. And just a quick question, are fees keeping up with expenses for us in the admin department?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I know we try to revisit those every 5 years or so we won't need to do that this year?
Mm-mm.
Okay. No. Anybody else have any questions on the income? Okay. Then we have the non-levied funds on the second page.
Yeah, so these are ones that no tax dollars,
Right.
property tax dollars go into. They're all self-sustaining funds.
These are the enterprise funds, basically.
Yeah,
Oh,
but they're
okay.
not all
Yeah.
classified as those, but
Right.
they're the self-funded. A lot of them are,
Recycling.
just what cash available is the budget. There's no money that comes into them. So when they start off, like the CDBG and home local source, we don't have anything coming in for those. In the past, it was those programs that, they did in the past to help people, the home buyer program stuff that they used to do.
Right,
And
yeah.
if somebody sold their property within that they'd have to pay back some. So that's where a lot of that money that's sitting there has come from.
Did
But
we allocate that money?
Huh?
Did we allocate that money to the community foundation for their?
some of it already,
We did, okay.
yeah.
So this is what we have left in that fund
Yes.
that hasn't been allocated? Okay.
And we can look into, you know, what that money could be used for and try to get it spent, so it's not sitting on our books, but.
Oh, I'm sure that we could find a way to spend it. you
Yeah,
know.
we just gotta make sure that,
Especially if we have like a workforce housing project come into town, you know, it might be able to be used for part of that.
Yep.
I'll just add a little comment on that not every problem is a problem that is a government tax dollars problem to solve.
The CDB, but the CDBG money actually came from workforce housing that sold and went in there. So I believe that money can only be spent for workforce housing.
It's categorized,
It's
yeah.
categorized, so that was my point, not that we were gonna.
I just didn't want to expand beyond that, sorry.
and then, a lot of, since there isn't any money, because those were done so many years ago that they've actually, everybody that actually took advantage of that program
Mhm.
have now, like, there's no more.
Yeah, they were all 15 years max, is
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
were.
so they've hit that cap, so if they sell it now, they don't overpay anything or pay back anything, so.
Um, And recycling's doing okay
Yep.
on those fees, we don't have to worry about that.
How far up or down are we from that? Because one of the things is, like, this week, he went on vacation for a couple of weeks. We've actually had a couple of weeks where it's been shut down. And so I was talking with Mike about how we can staff, and obviously, even if we staff somebody from that, part of that will need to come from the, you know, like, let's say we hire Willie's assistant, which is, you know, the summer assistant that we have to do that. If that person ended up covering the recycling center for 2 weekends, we'd want to make sure that that was being paid from the recycling fund rather than the, and we're still good there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on any of that?
Water and sewer, those are always high, mainly because we have to include the project numbers in there, but then they're offset on the revenue side of it too, so
Okay.
that's why those look so much bigger than
Right,
everything else. Same with the EDA grant, since we're still working on all that stuff, we still have to pay it out, but we still in turn have the money coming in.
okay.
Um,
And then building code enforcement, they changed how that is, so we don't have to use it or lose it kind of thing.
Correct, it's 3 years that he can have in there, and he did actually just have an audit done here a couple of weeks ago, and everything was good, so, so yeah, his department,
But what they actually changed was just how much carryover you can have.
Right, yeah. it was
how many
just a
years worth
Yeah,
of budget you can have,
you don't have to spend it every year.
correct. Yeah, because that was 1 year, you could only have one year's worth of budget in reserve, now it's 3.
And then the urban renewal TIF district, have we ever spent any of that yet?
Mm-mm.
It hasn't gone to council, so I didn't think we have, but, okay,
Council does have to approve that before we go.
Yeah. okay.
And so which number represents what's actually in the TIF right now? Is that the cash available?
Yes. Yeah, so cash available is what is currently sitting in those cash accounts as of, and I just made myself a note, the 8/5.
Yep.
Like I said, those numbers will change between now and when you guys, look through the final one at the next meeting, but they shouldn't change a lot. I don't have that many claims left. There's just a few.
And then on the revert tax, is that just the 3% or is that both?
Nope, that's just the 3%. Stormwater reflects the 1%.
Okay, thank you. And then
Did
we are
get that
budgeting,
to the definition, Lonnie, please, just
At the
on
bottom?
2100, just put like 3% next to the,
and then, we're budgeting, 2 million, we're estimating 2 million in the budget for revenue?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
well, so it's 1.9 for what we anticipate for resort tax coming in. So the extra is,
Pool
including
fees.
pool fees
Okay.
and interest.
Okay,
on those ones too.
thank you.
Mhm.
for the clarification.
And I don't remember how I did it last year, but for resort tax, did I build in, like, if we don't get it, we don't spend it? Did I build that into the resort tax last year? Because this year, I just did the 2,810,664, because that's what resort tax board, and then,
I thought you did it
It'd
the
be,
same way.
it'd be really easy to go back and track because we had the,
I know, I just looked at last year.
yeah, we had the sewer, we had the dump truck, the suck truck in there. So that's 600,000, that'd make it jump out really easily.
Yeah,
whether
so
we
I
did or
just-
didn't.
I just put in cash reserve, the 691. So if, the full amount is budgeted, but
Oh, okay,
I just wanted to show that here's what resort tax board, thought the budget needed to be, and then, so I just kind of broke it out a little bit better.
so the 691 cash reserve is not, we really don't have cash reserve of that, or we do?
The cash is, no, so that's building out your budget. So cash available, you have 1.5. That's
Okay.
what we currently have sitting in resort tax.
Okay,
So this is if we collect 2 million. and
we would have
we would
600
have,
extra, that would be cash reserve, thank you, okay, that makes sense, thank
Yep.
you. Okay, any other questions on any of that, guys?
Were these spreadsheets you were talking about at the last meeting?
Yeah, well, those are the revenue ones, yeah.
No, I meant like, because you were asking about a spreadsheet.
I think the resolution one was one of them too, so.
I don't remember, I'm sorry.
The resolution one was
Yeah,
the one I
Which the
remember.
resolution one just takes the numbers off of these two sheets. Puts them in.
Yeah.
so we are not voting to approve the budget tonight, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we're just discussing it,
Next meeting.
because the resolution was in the packet, and I just wanted,
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't have a resolution number.
okay,
It's just so, the mayor requested to have that all
okay,
go. But those numbers, like I said, will change in that resolution as well to match
good,
this.
okay. Were there any changes in the expenses, to the expense budget?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, other than changing it to the 240 in the fire department.
Okay,
That's the only.
so you did get that in there, and the resort tax?
The
everything.
resort tax I left at 147, that,
Okay.
that's the, resort tax board,
Okay,
I said. And then,
Okay.
then I changed the general fund to the 240.
okay.
So that's,
Because it was supposed to be 10% of, which was an estimate.
Of last year's,
Of-
though. No, the 10% is based on actuals from last year.
and I can,
Okay,
I'll make sure that it's what we collected.
okay,
And I will tell you, there will absolutely be some numbers that changes, so one of them, and it's tied to a later discussion item, as we look at what that city administrator, as that position gets flushed out, and they come back and say, this is what we think you're gonna have to pay,
right,
that's an example. And this is basically the last chance, if there's any, not necessarily from this meeting, but if you guys go through and you see something, please call it out, reach out, because this is, and again, we have some flexibility after it's passed, but I always like to go into it with the best expectation of what's gonna be there.
so,
And I imagine, just by way, this conversation's gone well enough this morning, that this will probably be, we'll clip this out and make it available online for anybody who wants to go through and kind of watch and understand it, because I think the explanation so far this morning has been really, really, really good.
so if we do 240 out of general and 147 out of resort tax, we're at 387.
Which is a lot less than what they'd have gotten if we'd gone 28.
Correct.
Which is
But-
what we figured was happening, why this was urgent to get this done.
Right, okay. But it's also more than what they got last year.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of splitting the difference, only they're still getting a higher percentage from last year than.
But remember, they're fighting the same challenges that we are too.
No,
And
absolutely, I agree
we still have
that,
responsibility for
yeah.
public health and safety.
Absolutely, but I still, I mean, that was like a $300,000 to $400,000 increase, it's a lot. $400,000.
Yeah,
But they would have
said it's not, but yeah,
It's not for the last, yeah. Again, they have
350 is less than 420, I hit a long shot.
Yeah. What?
150,000 is less than 420,000.
It would have been
What was-
420 if we were 28 mils, so.
Oh, would
so
it?
the new, yeah,
I thought it was 409.
409?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Regardless.
So it's less this
specific
way
doesn't
because we
really-
have it in place, so.
Right,
Which
but
is-
it's 387, not,
So basically,
the-
we're coming to a happy middle to where they're
Right.
getting a little more and we're not spending as much.
it's,
As we would have been, it's still
we
more
would
than
it's
last year.
Right.
387, not 250, and it would have been 409. So they're not that,
Not that much difference.
it's not that much difference. It's $22,000 is what we're talking about. Okay, so. Okay.
Which is, we're back to, if they come back and they're digging on their heels, that, and I'll go back and revisit the language, because I'm hearing conflicting viewpoints, but we're not gonna blow it off over we're not gonna blow it up over the 1.2% or whatever it is in, over last year's. If they say, no, that's not there, we're not gonna blow it up over that. Because it's still less than what that dollar difference is, and significantly more going forward, so.
Okay, so, any more, I guess I'll just kind of, I don't know, do you want to go through any of this?
Well, it's all contingent on that fire Missouri, or
Yeah.
contract, so.
If there are any individual line out items that you saw that you would like to revisit, caller, I'm gonna be revisiting with department heads and kind of going through everything and just making sure we haven't missed anything.
Okay, yeah, I guess that would be the,
So where is the 9 main? Where this administrator is at?
Under planning.
Ah, got it, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's just,
you want to give us
And that's-
that update on that real quick, since that's next on the agenda?
Yeah, well, get through the budget and then we can come back to that.
I just don't want to run out of time.
Okay. So we have talked with them. We are gonna have him, per council's request, the consultant will be here at 7:30, on call. Will be at the next meeting in 2 weeks.
Our meeting?
Yep,
Okay,
admin finance, that was the request we had from last time, so I've set that up. You don't remember saying we're gonna do it in 2 weeks because we're talking about budget next week?
oh, I didn't realize he was going to actually be at our meeting.
No, he's gonna be Zoom, but he's
Right.
gonna be attending that meeting so that you guys can do that. Prior to that, I'm having him talk to, several people individually. He's gonna call up and set some Zoom meetings. Jody, I have requested, I have put your name on that list of people that I want him to reach out and talk to about kind of what's your vision, or what are your thoughts about what that job position is, what your questions and concerns are. So in addition to staff, I had made that offer to Ann, she declined. So if there's another council person, I mean, it could be from somebody in this group. Jeremy, you would probably be the second person I thought, and so what I'm looking at is I had Jody, and I thought I had Jody and Ann, that kind of covered the spectrum. So where she said, no, she doesn't do Zooms, she said, I don't roll that way. She'll wait and have a conversation, when he talks to the full council. I can go with just one, or Jeremy, if you don't object talking to him, I think I'd probably like to have you speak with him.
And this is at 7:30 or is this a different
No,
time?
this is
Separate time,
so
okay.
7:30, he's gonna, the only downside to it is he's gonna talk to all of you at 7:30 anyway.
Right.
Well, I'm fine just like, in 2 weeks talking to him too, and then, we can fine tune it. I mean, you know my concerns, I just don't want, if we hire a city administrator, I don't want it to just be an assistant to the mayor. That is, when we have a changeover of the mayor, it's gone, because the whole point of having, to me, a city administrator is the continuity of
I
administering the
know that, and
government.
I have relayed
So-
that on, but I want to have him hear it firsthand from a couple of folks in
Okay.
council.
Well, I'll happily say that at our meeting too,
Yeah.
That's my main thing. The last time we had an assistant to the mayor, it left a really bad taste in people's mouths, and he was gone as soon as that mayor was gone. So,
Was it because that guy was not good, or was it because that guy was the assistant to the mayor? Because again, that's one thing that
Yeah.
I wonder is like,
Is it structural?
Sure. Yeah, it's,
yeah, like, is it just because that guy sucks? 'Cause that's okay.
So when it happened, it was because the incoming mayor felt like they didn't need that position,
Gotcha.
that it wasn't needed.
Yeah.
That's why they
Yeah.
let him go,
And a lot of that may have
So they
been budget
eliminated
cuts and
that.
necessities. so.
eliminated that position. So-
right,
So-
but a lot of people did not like.
So what would lock that in if, again, based off how the charter's written and how we're hiring it, it's assistant of the mayor, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
what's
it has
gonna
to cover-
change it in the fact that, like, a new mayor comes in and is like, I don't need this position?
So,
So it's not, I don't think it's a matter of who we hire or like the position description, I think it's more of the actual, like, infrastructure of our charter and the, oh gosh.
so there's a secondary element that you kind of danced around, not intent, but what they did was eliminate the position. So you can't say, we're hiring that, and I'm hiring a new person in that position. It was a budgetary decision to eliminate position X,
Right, I'm just saying, what's gonna stop the next mayor from doing that?
because they're gonna appreciate the fact that their life is much easier and doesn't take 70 hours a week.
Sure, so
And
again,
we're not the only one who does that, right? There's several cities who have our same charter that do that, including large ones.
yeah, I'm just, I guess more what I'm trying to say is that
Consistency?
it's not even consistency, it's the fact that there's really nothing that, by having this meeting and building out this position description, that's gonna eliminate that factor that someone might just come and fire and eliminate that position later because of the org chart. So that's where my concern comes in. If you're hiring this person, give them whatever fucking title you want, like, it doesn't matter, because the way that you're hiring it within the organizational chart, within the charter, is like the assistant of the mayor. So you can, I genuinely hope that we hire the best, and that we want to keep this person for eternity, and that there's some sort of warlocks that can live for eternity, that'd be great. But like, end of the day, like, if it's in the organizational chart that this is the assistant of the mayor,
Well,
then that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say, is
no,
like,
and-
that's our issue, is if you want to keep this in perpetuity, then we need to adjust the organizational chart.
That's what I'm trying to, that's what I would like to see happen, is
Right.
that this becomes a
But this
position.
consultant isn't gonna do that, that's what
No.
we have to do.
Right,
And you had raised the thing last time, and you said yes, and talking with Dan, one of the things we want to do when we're getting done is we'll write a resolution. You'll put together a resolution of here's what this position is, here's what they do, and here's the intent. Now, that's still, again, somebody could come in, I could, any position that we're not required to have statutorily, I could eliminate. For budget reasons, we now have one police officer. For budget reasons, we now have one public works person. So, I mean, in a sense, there is no guarantee against any of that, but we can put additional, we could, I think, I'll check with Dan, but we could put in a resolution that says council has to sign off on that.
right. And I guess that's kind of more what I would just like some reassurance that going through all of this and hiring a person for this position. We've had a lot of, feedback from constituents that they want, you know, someone in that position, whether it's community development director or a city administrator that kind of takes on that role of, you know, having that person in place. And we as council realize that, you know, there's a lot of big projects that just kind of stall because we don't have someone in that position. So I would like to see that put in the org chart as, you know, council wants this in the org chart, whether it's community development director or city administrator, type of thing.
So I think that's what we need to be doing too, is before we go and hire the person, figure out what we want to hire. And that's part of that conversation with the consultant, but before we hire it, let's put that into the org chart, get it out into the public, and then that way we can get the buy-in of the public as well, and it's not coming off like we're hiring an assistant that's not an assistant, like that
Right.
we're trying to circumvent the charter to hire a city manager, which is voted down. Like, that's specifically what I wanna avoid, is that we make this a very clear understanding of what this position role is and what their
And a
duties
city
are.
administrator is not necessarily an assistant to the mayor.
Right,
We can
I
have a
don't
city
wanna-
administrator that's not a city manager.
right,
I mean, they're not, they don't have to be the same.
exactly, it's just how we had that previous resolution written, that's what it's that's what it feels like. It feels, we're doing it a little backwards, and that we should just be hitting it head on with what exactly we want.
I would agree with that. Is the mechanism for changing that org chart just a resolution?
I don't know.
The answer from Dan is we don't have to, but he was not opposed to the resolution. So first off, if you go out online, we already have that kind of built into the org chart.
Right.
But, so just to kind of summarize at a very high level, so we had an opinion from our previous city attorney who said, answer phones, look at calendars, that's all they can do.
Yeah, I'm not paying
Dan-
100,000 plus for someone
Yeah,
to do
Dan
that.
said no, and he specifically referred to MCA 73212, which is assist in the supervision. And then we went through the several different cities and municipalities that do that. And so, Deer Lodge, Laurel, Libby, Missoula, most counties, so it's out there, and it's, but one of the things, and even the previous attorney had said, I said, well, the intent is when we're done, we know what this position is like, council is going to put in a resolution that defines that, here's the position, here's what we see it. And I think that's where we can build in the safety precautions that Chelsea is concerned about. But I think these things are done in tandem. I don't think we put one on hold or,
No, I'm not saying put it on hold, but I mean, when I say I want to hire a city administrator, I want to hire a city administrator. And I've said that before, I don't necessarily want it just to be,
The mayor's secretary.
the mayor's
yeah,
assistant.
it's not the mayor's note taker.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So again, I'm for hiring the position, I support the position, but I want to do it the right way and call it what it is. And I think that previous resolution that kind of got us in hot water was the specific language that the mayor's allowed to hire an assistant. And that's what, again, we're quoting on something that we're not even actually doing. And that's my concern. So again, I'm in support of hiring someone to help as specifically more a community development director. I think that would be helpful, and a department head, but I think that we should have that defined within our org chart before hiring. So then that way, not just us as a council know what we're looking for, now the headhunter knows what he's looking for, we have a more solid understanding of a position description, and then also the other city staff know what they can expect too. Where, I mean, we don't want to necessarily be like, oh, we're getting this, and then all of a sudden, last minute, well, this is what we're hiring, and it's not what everyone thought it was. We should be really clear about that before.
Well,
We will
and-
have a resolution before we hire in Jeremy. If you'll have no objection, I think I'm gonna have him talk to Chelsea as the second person one-on-one.
Well,
Will there be a specific job description?
That's
That's
what
what
we're doing
we're
right,
doing.
that's what we're doing right now. And then when we have the job description, we'll codify it in a resolution which will address
Yeah.
Chelsea's term.
So, the difference is, I guess, I mean, a city administrator would help with spearheading any project that we want them to
Right.
spearhead.
Tracking.
And tracking and helping with the grants, doing all the grant, follow-ups and stuff like
And to
that.
be fair, it is stuff that historically, we have handed off to the person who had the title of planning director, which is
Right.
part of what led to the whole conversation of, we need a planning director.
Yeah.
The biggest difference from language, and this isn't changing, because this would be a change to the charter, is who does that individual report to?
And
As our
he
charter
does-
is written, that person reports to the mayor.
Right,
If we
as all
change our
employees
form
do.
of government, that person reports to the council. But
Right.
the job description and duties do not have to, are not that significant or different.
And I guess that's my point, is that I don't think you need to call, it's not an mayor's assistant. We just have a city administrator, and yes, as every other department head, they report to the mayor.
Yeah.
Period.
That's it.
That's it, instead of the council.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
That
So-
is the, and that's how Missoula, and Missoula's, and we can reach out to them, Chelsea, but Missoula's city administrator has been there through, I think 4 or 5 mayors now.
Right.
Now, interestingly enough, they call their city manager, which I would not do. I think very
Right.
specifically, we can call this title absolutely anything on the planet, except we cannot call it city manager. So
I
I
agree.
don't have a desire to go there.
And no, so I think we just work on a resolution and we say, we are, you know, after we talk to the consultant, you know, we're hiring a city administrator. Now, I guess we could wait until we get the applicants in, and if the best applicant fits more a community development director, no?
No. So
Okay.
what we'll do is, when we post it, we will post a job description, that won't change.
Okay,
If we don't get an applicant who fits what council says we
Decide.
want with
Okay.
that, and what mayor says we want with that, then we start over and look again, and that doesn't cost extra.
because the city administrator absolutely would be, the way that this would work, would be the one funneling stuff to our planner.
Yep, and it may
So-
be that that person has a planning background, in which case much less of it gets done. So one of the things that I have in that job description is, and we can go over this in 2 weeks, we'll go through all of this, is identify where our staffing shortchanges are, you know, shortcomings are, and what is the best and most appropriate and cost-effective way to address that need.
And that person would probably be going to most of the meetings that you are now having to go to.
That is correct.
So then we would have certain citizens that are speaking out about that would help.
That will change their complaint.
So I think council just needs to define what it wants to see.
Yeah.
So we want the position.
And that's what the
defined
meeting in 2 weeks
We
is,
want
but
it defined in the org chart. We want some kind of protection for keeping it somewhat permanent, some mechanism for doing that.
And-
Besides just the budget, I mean, the future councils could just feel like we're not passing a budget that doesn't include that,
Yeah.
I guess.
yeah.
Um,
And I don't know that you can, there really isn't any guarantee against
Sure.
that,
Sure.
other than it's kind of drastic
We
because
can't
you
pay
can't
for anything we
say.
don't have money for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, you also, you can't do it just to get rid of personality X and bring in personality Y.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Well,
and-
and to that point,
Yeah.
do we want some kind of mechanism for saying council has to approve the removal of a particular?
That's what I'm saying, I think we can probably do that, I think that's where the longevity comes from.
Okay.
And I'll ask Dan, but he may say, no, you don't get to do that, that's part of what your charter says where, of course, but I have zero objection, I think it's I'm looking at permanence and moving forward,
Right,
and as much as I do polls with staff is, we don't want a supervisory position. What I hear from council is absolutely, what I hear from Dan is that's absolutely within that role, and the Montana Code specifically states that, to assist in supervisory. I also think that if we can develop that consistency and stability going forward, ultimately, people working in that org chart prefer that, consistent, you know, rather than
Yeah.
every 2 years there's a potential of it changing.
yeah, I would not want, I have said this many times, I wouldn't want a new boss every 2 years. I mean, that would be a nightmare. I don't know how you would stay in your position for a while. I'd be like,
So
okay,
then we just need to think about the mechanism to do those things.
Yeah.
How do we change the org chart? How do we get it in such that the council needs to approve removals?
Yep.
And I think we get that from Dan and the attorneys,
okay,
Yep.
so.
all right, perfect. All right, anything else on that? So that is built into the budget, we're good there.
And like I said, I anticipate that number may change, just based on when they come back and they say, this is what you're gonna have to pay to do it, because like, we had a planner that we offered, I wanna say the total compensation was 105. It's been a couple years, and they turned it down, so.
It wasn't that much for that planner.
With the weighted in it,
Okay, I'm gonna just move quickly, the department contract then, so you're still working on that?
that department contract.
Rural fire department contract?
Yes,
Next on the agenda?
that's still under discussions, and
Okay.
part of the thing is I'm waiting for the opinion from the attorneys, but they realize that's a top priority.
Okay,
How does that work, just if we can't hammer out a contract? Like, can we down the road amend the budget to reflect.
Yeah, we can do it a budget amendment if we need to, but
Yeah,
they and us have both built budgets based on the wording in that contract.
right. Be a mess, so we should probably get it done.
Yeah.
So we're talking about this tonight. It says up for discussion by full council.
I think it's just more a status update than
Okay.
anything. So both of those, and it'll be tomorrow night, but basically all three of the conversations we're having right now are basically up for discussion tonight, or on tomorrow night.
Okay. And then, we're talking about the airport interlocal agreement tonight, or tomorrow night. Apparently you and I are up for that, Jeremy?
I like it as it's written in the packet.
Okay. Me too.
Can you speak a little bit to how we got there and where we are? And that's the,
Okay, yeah, so when, Jen Battles was on council and I was on council and Terry Durbin, we went to, lots of county commissioner meetings, we went to lots of airport board meetings, and council, at the end of that term, before, Dave became mayor, passed an interlocal agreement. And it was never signed, by the county commissioners, so it
or
has.
Bridger.
Or Bridger. So even though we had something that we approved, it was not approved by the other two entities. So we've been working under the old contract since then. This contract that's in the packet, includes pretty much, it includes everything that we had wanted. But there's just, we have the 3-3-3 equal representation. We have, we get a copy of the budget, after they complete it every year, just to make sure that we have that, because that was one of the complaints, we weren't getting the budget or something like that for the airport board, so we have that in there. Bridger did add that they would like, since it's 3-3-3, they might not always be able to get 3 people to the meeting, they asked that they be allowed a proxy vote, and I'm like, totally, that was their only change. I did go to the last airport board meeting and explain to Bridger why we wanted, the equal representation, and, they didn't understand why we'd get the budget in September when the budget was July, and I had told them that was what Angela had wanted, because that's just like us. They don't have their budget done until September.
Yeah.
So that alleviated, I think, their worries on those, on signing it.
Cool.
Now, we have ours, we have to vote on it again because of the changes, and then the county commissioners also have to vote on it and pass it. And I'm hoping that if we pass it and Bridger passes it, that they will also pass it. The other option, if they don't want the 3-3-3, is we did talk about, Jeremy brought up a great suggestion, it's like, well, Joliet doesn't have doesn't have an airport. Perhaps we just, take Joliet out of the district and go with a 2-2-2 representation. Because the county's reason why they want 3 is
Right.
because they have those property taxes coming in from Joliet.
Sure.
So Scott Blaine wants that representation. So
They had said, Joliet doesn't get a whole lot of use out of the airport, like they get most of their services from the Bill and Laurel
yeah.
area, so, okay, well, maybe just,
And I thought that was
Come out
a
of the
really
district.
good idea, because that got equal down to 2-2-2. The downside of it is that eliminates a portion of the taxes going to fund the airports.
Right.
But I thought that was a very good response in hearing what that commissioner brought to the table and said. So
Right.
I will be honest, at this point, it a little bit comes down to, I don't want to say a chicken or a who blinks, but that's kind of where it is. And as Jody said, I think if we get it passed and it's out there, I think we're good. I still can't say with 100% certainty that the commissioners are going to say, do it on your own. We think you should do it this way, and if the choice is that or do it on your own. And so that's I'm hoping with 2 cities on board, and I think everybody agrees that in the long-term scale of things, this is actually better with all three entities involved that brings stability to the situation. The other thing that they kind of brought up via email is that they really wanted the border defined with some tweaks to what was passed by ordinance of council, and that was basically just that it goes clear to the road. We can record all the trails and everything in it, but they just said, normally these things are to big, drastic, easy, not invisible dotted lines that you only know of because of a survey. So most notably on the west side, on the east side and the north side, that you use roads as boundaries because those aren't likely to change. Now, they did once, but they're not likely to change as much as like fence lines or invisible dotted lines. So they would still like to see council address what the boundaries are.
Didn't we pay for a survey?
We have not done the survey yet, but yeah, we have an ordinance that says we will survey it, which goes along the site. But then the concern is, every time somebody wonders what something is, they have to go out and do that. And right now, they actually maintain the road.
For the tennis court right now, so.
Pardon?
A survey, that's its job.
Yeah,
So I feel like
that-
it's not a big.
But see, right now, there's like all the mowing along the side of the road, where everybody goes and parks for the 4th of July or for events and stuff. Right now, the airport does that.
Okay.
And so they're saying, we do that, we're not doing that if it's not us. And so they're just like, just go with what the roads are.
Not giving up land.
Say again?
I'm not giving up land.
Yeah, I don't think it's that strong of a case, but okay.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm just mentioning that came up in the conversation again.
Yeah, and council already approved, I went through 3 months of meetings trying to get that map approved. So,
Yeah.
and it was absolute hell, and I
You don't want
The area
I don't
west of the hangars is still, south of the hangars is still,
I think that's part of it too, because it was, like I said, what they were saying is follow the road all the way around.
No.
And there was some stuff that was done, but I'm just throwing out that will be
that was a
part of the
compromise.
conversation.
That map was a compromise, and the county commissioners had agreed to that map, but more specifically, the airport board had agreed to the map. We sat down with our reps on the board too, with Bo and Steve, and Bo drew out, like, this is what we have, and this is what we're willing to give back, and that's what they did, and that's what we
The good
agreed
news
to.
is, my job is to run the meeting and sign when you guys approve something. So I'm just relaying on the feedback that.
And I appreciate that. I just personally do not want to go there right now. I'm fine with the map that we drew, as what we approved.
If the county wants to go on the record with a vote that says we want X, Y, and Z different, then please go on the record with a vote and do that. Otherwise,
so they haven't done, the county is not.
otherwise this shifting goalposts is just a waste of time.
No,
Well, it's just
well-
gonna go back and forth,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Well, and the alternative is just, we're back to, okay, we are now responsible for maintaining it. And,
The whole airport, or just the part of the land that
no, the whole airport. Because if they say we don't want part of it, and then that was.
So you're saying that there, on the map, will be a deal breaker?
It was presented as, this is what they want. They didn't say this is a deal breaker or not a deal breaker. And the problem is, you won't know until you cross that line and find out.
Right.
All right,
And that's true on all three parts.
okay. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, because right now, the map is the map. They asked us for a map, council passed a map, and that's what we gave them.
Okay.
So, anyway, okay. Any public comments?
Just one last question back on Joliet and the airport board. If you went to because
No, that's okay.
I missed the meeting. So 2, and 2 would mean that Joliet,
Does not have,
Has no representation and no longer pays money into it.
that's my question. So,
Yes,
so they're,
and the mechanisms of doing that are kind of a pain. They would have to
to
set up,
amend
they
the
basically end up setting up an airport district, kind of like they do with schools, and it wouldn't include Joliet, but it would be, they wouldn't collect money from Joliet.
for an airport that they don't really
they
use.
don't use.
Yeah.
But
Which is-
if they want to get out of paying the money, that's the mechanism to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only, that's what I'll.
Right,
that's
and
the
then
alternative.
Scott would not have to go to airport board meetings anymore. Scott Blaine.
It is interesting how little interest they have in the airport board.
Yes,
Anyway.
I know. Okay, any other public comment? Anyone online that would like to make a public comment? Okay. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.